Hello motorcycle enthusiasts. Today, I'll show you how to assemble the carburetor of the Suzuki GS450. You might have already seen the disassembly video. Today, we're assembling it together. And first, I'll show you what we need for it. We need a thin fuel hose to check the air channels. We need a Phillips screwdriver in size PH2. We need flathead screwdrivers in different sizes, maybe not as many as I have here, but a good selection is quite useful. A small needle nose pliers. I need my Allen wrench set because there are already some Allen screws installed here. A small flashlight can be very helpful. An open end wrench in size 14 millimeters. And of course, the new parts we need. Today, for us, it's the float chamber gasket. The small plug-in new. Of course, a new float needle valve already with the new O-ring on it. Please, do yourselves a favor and buy high quality products there. Otherwise, you'll be annoyed later if you have something cheap that doesn't fit properly and doesn't work correctly. I'll link it for you in the video description. I've also linked the silicone spray for you. It's very, very useful for assembly to add a little bit of lubrication. And to answer the question right away, which often comes up, do you earn money with these links? These are so-called affiliate links. The cool thing is, when you use these links, you support this channel in its expansion and maintenance, and you also support a cool shop with top ratings. And additionally, I will link or provide you with an email address in the video description of someone to whom you can send a carburetor for ultrasonic cleaning. So let's get started. First, we need the thin hose, and now there are two air jets here, one in this recess and one in this recess, which supply air to the nozzle holder of the main jet and to the idle jet. This is the air premixing. And now I insert the hose here. Here I just insert it, place it on, and then blow through it to listen if this channel is also clear. Yes, that works. And then we have this small tube here. It has a very small bore. Now I attach the hose to it and blow through it as well. This tube is used to draw fuel for the choke. Yes, that is also clear. Then we can start with the assembly. We begin with the nozzles, and while I spray the mounting points for the nozzles, here, and also the mounting point for the float needle valve, with silicone spray to ensure everything slides smoothly. I want to tell you something very important. No matter how old this video is, I don't know when you will be watching it. Please check the video description. If any additional information about this carburetor comes up later, I will include it there, so it will be updated later. Here we have the idle air jet. The idle air jet goes into this opening. So I will let it drop in here, and then it will be screwed in place. Please be careful not to tighten it too much. This small slot in, the jet can get damaged quickly. Additionally, there's only a small thread, which is sufficient. Next, we have the main jet. Under the main jet, don't forget, there's a small washer here. It's important for the position of the main jet to be correct. Then comes the main jet itself. Like this. My fingers are a bit in the way here. Like this. Again, don't overdo it. Tight, yes, but not too tight. So, and finally, the small rubber plug goes in above the idle jet. I also spray it again with some silicone spray. Like this, it's inserted here. It can't fall out later because it's held in place by a small molded part of the float chamber. With that, the jets are finished, and we will continue with the float needle valve. We continue with the float needle valve. This here is the inlet part. A new O-ring is already on it. I also apply a bit of silicone spray to it, and now this goes into its seat. Please check the seat beforehand to ensure it is clean and free of damage. And that snap slides right in here, carefully with a bit of movement. And for securing it, there's this small metal bracket on it. One moment, I'll just make sure to get my fingers out of the way here. This is how it sits here. Can you see that? And it's secured with a small Phillips screw. This is the one here. There you go. It doesn't want to. I'll just position it like this. This is how it looks. So this small screw with the molded part secures the float needle valve against slipping out. Now I'll also spray a little silicone spray in here. This is the actual needle valve. So it sits loosely in here and is held by the float itself. It has this small metal tab here. With the tab, which you can carefully bend in one direction or the other, you can adjust the float level. I'll include the float level in the video description for you. And now we'll install the float here. It needs to be threaded under here. I'll show you under this small tab and between these two holders at the back, like this. And now this small axle comes in here, like a small pin. It holds everything firmly in place here. The last little bit is a bit difficult. I need to do that again. Once it's in place, the whole thing is held by the float chamber, by the lid, so to speak, and it can't slip. Please check for smooth operation, and then we'll continue with the lid. Now we can place the float chamber lid on. The new gasket is already in place down here. The lid is being placed straight on because in this recess sits the small tube that I checked earlier. The new rubber plug is on, so everything is in its place. Place the lid straight on, and now the 4 screws go in all around. I will screw them in and tighten them, and then we'll continue on the upper side. In the meantime, I have turned the carburetor upside down. We will now continue on the top, and we start here. The mixture screw goes into this opening. I have already sprayed a bit of silicone spray in and placed it here for you. This is the correct assembly order. The screw, this is the mixture screw, the one with the tip. A spring sits on top of it. Then comes a small washer and an O-ring. I have already assembled it here once and positioned the carburetor so that I can screw it in horizontally. Then it won't slip down if necessary. The adjustment is made by turning the screw in until it stops. Please be very careful at the stop so that you don't damage the screw. And then a certain number of turns are unscrewed. I will write in the video description how many turns you need to unscrew for this model. As the next step, we will reinstall the slide. With the diaphragm, please make sure that the diaphragm has a small, thicker spot at the edge, here in the front, and it belongs in the corresponding groove. Great, you can see it perfectly. So you turn it like this. Then you need to make sure down here that the needle slides into the nozzle holder. You might need to help it a little. And now I turn it up here so that it fits in here. With some carburetors, and it's the same with this one, it's better if you carefully lift the slide with your finger. This way, it can be mounted more easily. The edge of the diaphragm must fit precisely into the groove in the carburetor housing. If it doesn't fit because the diaphragm has shrunk a bit, this sometimes happens. If it has been left out for a while, I'll link a video above on what you can do. So, the edge is perfectly in place. Now the spring comes in here, and the lid goes on top. There.
Great.
I'm already putting in 2 screws over here. Whoa, because the bracket for the choke goes under the other 2 screws. We must not forget them at this point. I always hold it in place with a thumb or finger so it doesn't pop off again. There's a spring underneath, so I'm fastening them a little bit now. Then the cover is already fixed in the correct position. Originally, Phillips head screws are used here. I would also recommend to you, there are already Allen screws here. And now here comes, exactly like this, the bracket for the choke and also for the throttle cable one is placed and screwed in with the other 2 screws. I'll do that now. And afterwards, I'll show you how the choke is reassembled. So friends, the last assembly group, the choke needs to be reassembled. I've already inserted the choke piston here because otherwise my fingers are always in the way. Yes, it needs to go in here. Please also use a little silicone spray beforehand here. And now this is placed and screwed in. There. Great. And we need the 14mm open-end wrench here to tighten it. Please don't overdo it. So that's enough. And now we continue with the choke mechanism. That was this exciting part here. Very important info. This rod, which performs the operation, has these 2 indentations here for the set screws. There's only a little space here. There's a lot of space here. The part where it's right at the edge belongs on the right side. As you have the carburetor positioned now, please show the carburetor again so that it's visible. So here is the side that sits in the intake manifold. And to the right must go the side where there's little space next to this small hole. So, and now you need to thread these operating parts here beforehand. Yes, so that the hole for the small set screw points upwards. Now I'm already pushing the rod through here. I've also sprayed it with some silicone. So it goes through here now, and now we're also approaching this bracket. Please be kind and show here again. This is the correct order here. The spring needs to be on. Then the small locking plate, it has a flange here, and you can remember it by that. This flange essentially holds the spring in place, right? Can you see it? Yes, that's how it should be. And then comes the actual operating lever with this small slot for the Bowden cable. So, and now all of this has to go on. So a bit tricky, as they say today. There. And then here, the small lever. A few more arms would be quite helpful now. So I'm pressing the spring together. And yes, as you can see, it's not quite easy. So I'm placing this operating lever here onto the nipple of the choke and then let it, I think you can see that quite well. Slide in here, snap. So carefully push the rod further through. Great. So, and now we still have to check. I'll show you this again here. Now we have this small borehole here. It has to be exactly under this hole. And you can see it behind the spring. There. Is this borehole? Yes, you see, it has to be exactly under this hole. You have to adjust it so that it fits both openings. Like this and like that. Now the set screws go in there. They have this small tip. The tip holds itself in place there. I'll do that now. And then in the last step, I'll show you. how to hook up the Bowden cable. So, last step, friends. The Bowden cable needs to be hooked in, and now you can see at this point that this small piece of metal from the safety plate is blocking this slot. So you need to press it against the spring in this direction and ideally flip it upwards, then it won't be in the way for the moment. Then the Bowden cable can go in here. Snap. So now I need to quickly pull a bit at the end of the Bowden cable so that it... Do you see that? So now it's in there. And now the safety plate needs to be pressed against the spring again and brought into position. I'll show it again. Now it also made a nice sound here. Snap. And thus the small nipple cannot slip out. And you are done with the assembly. Just check this again to see if it moves. I'll pull on it here. Great. Oil everything a bit more or use silicone spray for smooth operation. And then you're ready to go. Yes, friends, that was this carburetor. I wish you a lot of fun with your project. I hope you liked and found my video helpful. I would appreciate a thumbs up and of course a subscription from you. And yes, until the next video. Bye bye.